Yo,
Yeah.
man.
Bang! What's going on, guys? Man, we got
Released a
some great
statement.
stuff for you guys. Let's
Great.
dive right on in. We got lots to talk about.
So, are they going to indict Trump and arrest him again?
I hope not.
Over the January 6th stuff?
This is just a ploy. This is really a ploy to add more distraction to the corrupt president that's still in office that no charges have been brought against
None.
yet, nor his son.
Yeah.
I don't get it. The little misdemeanor stuff ain't even like anything happened.
You going right to the paper?
No, I'm just waiting on you to start the video,
Oh.
but I got my, y'all know me, I got my stuff. Man, I'm just really upset about it. I really am. This is ridiculous.
The easiest way to sign up and win a 14 Pro Apple iPhone is, number one,
Go to aura.com/SIBO and Snapper.
number two,
Sign up for the free 14-day free trial.
and number three,
Take a screenshot of your sign up and send it to SIBOandsnapper@gmail.com, and I will enter you into the giveaway.
and the last day to sign up, guys, is August 15th. It's only 10 slots left. You can do it. Let's go.
Bye.
Reads in part, wow, on Sunday night, while I was with my family, having just arrived from the Turning Point event in Florida, where I won the straw poll against everyone else by 85.7%, blah, 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 I received horrifying news for our country by my attorneys. Deranged Jack Smith, the prosecutor with Joe Biden's DOJ, sent a letter. Again, it was Sunday night, stating that I am a target of the Jan 6th grand jury investigation, giving a very short 4 days to report to the grand jury, which almost always means an arrest and
Please.
an indictment. So let me start with you on that, Dave. As a prosecutor, he's correct, is he not? That getting this kind of a letter from the DOJ means he's about to get arrested and indicted.
Yo.
Yes, Megan, good to be back with you. He is correct. He is going to be indicted. It's just a question of when, and it's going to happen sooner than later. He's being invited to testify before the grand jury, but no one believes he's actually going to do that. In fact, prosecutors don't expect him to do that. It's just a courtesy you give to a defendant who's a target, who's going to be indicted. And you hope that he comes and testifies, because that's usually goes poorly for the future defendant. But he's not going to show up there because he's not going to get immunity, and they are just going to move ahead with this case, which I think is not as strong of a case as the document matter, but I think is more understandable to the public. The public saw what happened on January 6th, so I think this will be something that's easier to sell to the public than the document case.
Mike, indicted on what? We don't know. But like the Alvin Bragg case, we had an idea where that one was going. The documents case, we had an idea, like a pretty good idea. This one, I don't know what they're going to indict him on in connection with January 6th.
Correct.
What do you
Right.
think?
Well, it's very interesting, Megan. We've been talking about this since August. This is part of the Democrat lawfare campaign against President Trump. They fear they can't beat him in November of 2024, so they're
Exactly.
simply going to indict him and try to get him to die in prison instead of facing Joe Biden or Gavin Newsom. And so
Die in prison? How? They need to have the man who is really corrupt that's still in office in prison.
And who has any interest in Gavin Newsom or Biden being the daggone president? I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to keep saying that until it's over.
They cannot allow this to happen. Citizens have to come together in America. Other countries are down in front of their capital, in front of their state buildings, and there's tons of people when they have a corrupt president and they want to oust. I mean, it's happened. I can't even think of how many countries it's happened in. People are, why aren't we down there? Why aren't people demanding that this man who's corrupt be impeached? I mean, how is this happening?
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, let's keep watching.
the theory I think that I've been seeing leaked improperly to the press is that they're going to charge Trump maybe with some sort of conspiracy to overturn the election, maybe file false electors or false paperwork to the election regarding the 2020 election certification. The problem with this theory is you are allowed to object to presidential elections in America. It's specifically permitted by the Electoral Count Act of 1887. You're also allowed to twist arms politically in America. That is allowed under the First Amendment. If it were, it's only a crime to object to presidential elections in third world Marxist hellholes. And if it's a crime to object to a presidential election, Democrats would be in prison for objecting to Republican wins in 1968, 2000, 2004, and 2016. What Garland and Smith seem to be doing is trying to lump everyone together on January 6th, a protest, a lawful protest from the National Park Service that got out of control and turned into a riot, and somehow put all that together into this legal soup and come up with this bogus legal theory that Jack Smith he's good at this. He's good at coming up with bogus legal theories against Republican presidential contenders that later get overturned unanimously by the Supreme Court.
That's his specialty. What a specialty. Dave, I understand as a lawyer a possible charge of inciting a riot, which is one of the things that they've discussed. I don't think that's going anywhere because Trump's speech that day specifically said, be peaceful. And it wasn't, I think they're going to have a very difficult time getting past his First Amendment rights in trying to turn that speech into a crime. So I don't think that's what's going to come. If you read more left-leaning websites by lawyers who wanted to see this happen, this is what I've come up with in trying to understand what we might expect here. That Trump wanted to use false electoral slates to obstruct the Congress's certification of the election. So basically, obstruction of Congress. That is what Andy McCarthy has also predicted this will likely be about. This is some months ago, not today, but that's what he was predicting. Obstruction of Congress. 18 U.S.C. Section 1512 prohibits the obstruction of an official proceeding. Could be that. Also linked to it, that he wanted Mike Pence to block certification or to delay the count of the Electoral College. And then that he wanted fraudulent electoral certificates and submitted the same to Congress. He basically, certifications, he didn't want the actual vote that was coming in from the states to be certified because he said that it was fraudulent. And his last resort was triggering an insurrection. Of course, we've heard that from the Dems, to delay the transfer of power. What do you think of those possibilities?
Megan, I don't think he's going to be charged with insurrection, and I don't think he's going to be charged with inciting a riot or inciting an insurrection. I agree with you that the First Amendment is broad and it protects his speech. I do think he's going to be charged with obstruction of an official proceeding and or obstruction of Congress. And I think he'll be charged with conspiracy to defraud the United States. These are crimes that many other rioters from January 6th have been charged with. And you don't have to be there at the Capitol to be charged with those crimes. There's also the possibility of wire fraud if he was involved with the fake elector scheme. And there's the possibility of fraud when it comes to the fundraising that occurred. He raised $250 million supposedly for his legal defense fund, and it was sent to other places. So I think those are the potential charges. Get back something that I want to differ with my friend Mike about the fake elector scheme. In a couple of the states where they had the fake electors, they actually had disclaimer language on the bottom that says...
Forgive me, Dave. Forgive me. Let me just jump in. Can you just explain for people who aren't following this that closely, what were the fake electors?
Well,
Yeah, thank you.
I was wondering that.
Sure. The states provide electors to the Congress to be counted. That's what Mike Pence has to open and count. And there are several states where individuals send a false state of electors saying, we are the real electors and here are Arizona's electors. And that was false. That could be considered wire fraud. That could be considered altering an official document as far as a state law. So that's the crime. Now, in a couple of the states, the people who signed on to these as electors said that we are alternate electors in case there's a dispute over the electors. So in that case, that's not a crime. In fact, Jack Smith will not prosecute in those states because that disclaimer language protects you. But in the majority of the states that provided this language, they didn't say we're alternate electors. They said we are the real electors. And that's a fraud. And that's something you can't do. And I think that's going to be prosecuted.
What do you make of that one, Mike? The false electors claim, I confess, confuses me because, I know this is related to the now infamous John Eastman memo, this lawyer who is advising Trump, and he's come under much scrutiny for this plan. But the thought that instead of taking the real electors that were coming out of certain states, Trump worked with his legal team and others to create a false slate of electors. I mean, it was all out in the open. It wasn't secret because he said those states' votes were fraudulent and he wanted the vote to come down a different way. Again, all out in the open.
Okay, I
not,
see.
Not in any way a secret.
Okay.
Hoping that Mike.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, y'all stuff ain't right. I'm going to create my own.
Yeah, I'm gonna get ones I
Even
trust.
though legally that wasn't who they appointed, and he didn't trust them, so he
Correct.
appointed his own for his own fairness.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
Pence then, as the guy whose real sole job was he was supposed to just count what was coming in, that he would reject the actual slate in favor of the quote fake slate. So that how is that? How do you see all of that? And then I'll go back to Dave on the rest of what he was going to discuss. Go ahead.
I see this as a bogus legal theory to try to criminalize the political process. And that's what Jack Smith has a track record of doing. He did this with Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell when Bob McDonnell was a likely Republican presidential contender in 2016. Jack Smith came up with a bogus legal theory of corruption, got Bob McDonnell convicted. It was overturned unanimously, 8-0 by the Supreme Court. It would have been 9-0, but Justice Scalia died. But Jack Smith did what he wanted to do, which is take out a Republican presidential candidate. This guy is a partisan. He's doing the same thing to Trump. This is a bogus legal theory. They are criminalizing conduct that is protected by the Electoral Count Act of 1887. It's also protected by the First Amendment.
Do you see those dark spots in the mirror? You want?
So, okay, this cannot happen.
Yeah.
So pretty much it says that his lawyers, and this is an article just pretty much backing up what she said, but it's also explaining. This is from Politico. It was dated the 18th, and the article's title is Judge Moll's Timing of Trump Classified Documents Trial, but they actually give more than that. They talk about some of the other charges that are against him, so I really want to see, okay, what is everything? What do we truly know, and what are they doing? Because this right here, what she's saying, I never heard about that.
I didn't know about fake electors.
That's okay. So lawyers for Trump pleaded with Cannon, a Trump appointee, to put the trial off until after next year's presidential election. And that's what I thought would be great.
Correct.
In which their client is hoping to be returned to the White House. Prosecutors, for their part, urged the judge to schedule the trial for December. So I felt that was a good point to mention, because why are they doing all of this now?
Yeah.
They're talking about how the case isn't normal. Pushing the trial off until next year was necessary to give the defense lawyers time to review huge volumes of evidence that the government has turned over. I'm just going to kind of scroll through this.
Basically, they want to
I can-
speed that thing up so that they can get him put away so that Gavin Newsom and Biden can run against everybody else. And I don't think Vivek is ready for it all by himself. I think they needs to be able to have Trump and Vivek as the VP. They can dominate America for the next 4 years, and then get Vivek in there for 2008. Maybe Vivek and Tim Scott or something, or Vivek and Kerry Lakes in 2028.
Okay, in this one, they're talking about so one here says, they talk about the classified documents, and then they're still talking about the thing with falsifying business records in regards to the lady Stormy Daniels. But these people didn't really mention that.
Yeah.
Talks about how Trump's lawyers are aggressively but unsuccessfully, pushing for this to be pushed off, but it doesn't seem like until after the election or in December, but it doesn't seem like they're going for it. So it says people are gathering, but what is actually, I haven't seen that. Hundreds of Trump supporters and journalists from across the globe gather for that hearing where the former president and current frontrunner for the GOP president went before a federal magistrate judge to plead not guilty to all 37 felony charges. Okay, so here it is. While the hearing Tuesday was Cannon's first court session in the criminal case, she also oversaw a civil suit Trump filed last year after the FBI carried out a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago looking for classified documents and evidence of obstruction of the federal probe. So that's what they're talking about. Although targets of such searches rarely get any relief before criminal charges are filed, Cannon cut off criminal investigators' access to the records and appointed a so-called special master to consider claims Trump asserted that some of the records were protected by executive and attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
Yep, I mean,
Yeah, it's really a bunch of bull crap. That's all I'm saying. Basically, what that sums up to me.
well,
That shows even more reason to support that man, to get him up in that office.
most of the legal maneuvering around the search took place before it turned January, blah, 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 blah. Trump overtake the probe into Trump's possession of classified documents. Okay, we already know that, as well as federal probes related to the 2020 presidential election and the tallying of electoral votes on January 6th. So that's also part of it. So far, the only criminal charges to emerge from the investigators Smith is overseeing are those brought against Trump and Nada in Florida last month over the retention of national security secrets and alleged efforts to stem that probe.
Okay.
So there's nothing out of all this crap that they're still trying to pull. They're just trying to find something, but it seems like he's covered no matter which way you turn. You know, it seems like, and I don't understand how this is even happening. I really don't.
And I don't think it's going to happen with it. They're going to keep trying to indict him, but then they're not going to be able to arrest him. So they're going to keep on trying that. They're going to try that until they can stop that man from next year. They're really going to try it all the way up to his time.
Yeah, well, if they do, I just really feel like it's going to be a negative impact
and we don't
on our
want that.
society, and then it's going to be something transparent that's not going to be good.
Not going to be pleasant.
No, it's not going to be good. I just don't see how. Because how can we continue to allow a corrupt president to remain in office and not a single charge, and it's just still corruption after corruption, and yet they're just digging for this man here.
Digging. All right, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't take a nose out, but comment down in the section below if you want some more. See you on the next.